She once stood along silent coastlines, watching the rhythm of life with a quiet and patient heart. Through calm and carefully chosen words, Rachel Carson transformed the beauty of nature into something soft enough to soothe even the most restless soul. Tonight, as the fire crackles gently in the background, we step into the world she protected for so many years. Together, we will walk beside the ocean tides, hear the distant murmur of waves against the shore, and allow the weight of the day to slowly drift away into the deep blue stillness of the night. Late at night, when the world finally grows quiet and the noise of daily life begins to fade, there is often a longing for something gentler. Rachel Carson understood that feeling better than most people. She believed that nature carried a kind of wisdom humans had forgotten how to hear. While others rushed through crowded cities and endless responsibilities, she found comfort in places where the wind moved slowly through tall grass and where the sea repeated its ancient rhythm without ever growing tired. As a child, she spent long afternoons wandering fields and streams near her home, listening to birdsong and watching insects move through the sunlight. Even then, she noticed details most people ignored. The small ripple left behind by a fish beneath the surface of a pond. The delicate pattern of shells left along the shoreline after the tide receded. The soft glow of moonlight reflected across dark water. To her, these were not meaningless fragments of the world. They were quiet reminders that life moved in harmony when left undisturbed. As she grew older, that deep connection to nature never disappeared. Instead, it became stronger. She studied marine biology and devoted herself to understanding the fragile systems hidden beneath rivers, wetlands, and oceans. But Rachel Carson was never interested in science only for facts and numbers. What made her different was the way she saw emotion inside the natural world. She understood that every living thing, no matter how small, carried a purpose within the larger rhythm of existence. Many evenings, she would walk alone beside the water after the sun had disappeared. The cold air from the sea would brush softly across her face as waves rolled endlessly against the shore. In those moments, she often felt that nature spoke in a language quieter than words. The ocean did not demand attention. It simply existed, calm and eternal, asking nothing from anyone. She began writing because she wanted others to feel that same sense of peace. Her books were filled with descriptions of underwater life, migrating birds, hidden marshlands, and silent coastlines glowing beneath starlight. Yet beneath every sentence was something deeper. She was trying to remind people that humanity was never separate from nature. We were always part of it. There was a softness in the way she described the world. Even when she wrote about danger or destruction, her words never became cruel or angry. They remained steady and thoughtful, like waves continuing to return to shore no matter how violent the storm above them might become. Readers found comfort in her voice because it carried patience instead of fear. At a time when industry and technology were expanding rapidly across America, Rachel Carson began noticing changes others ignored. Rivers grew quieter. Birds disappeared from forests that once overflowed with song. Chemicals spread across fields and wetlands, leaving behind an unsettling silence. Many people refused to believe anything was wrong. Progress seemed too powerful to question. But Carson trusted what she observed in nature. She understood that when balance is broken, life begins to suffer quietly long before humans notice the damage. Night after night, under the dim light of her desk lamp, she carefully gathered research, reports, and scientific evidence. She worked slowly and methodically, often rewriting passages over and over until every sentence carried both truth and clarity. The work exhausted her physically, yet she continued because she believed the natural world could not defend itself. The forests could not speak. The rivers could not protest. The birds vanishing from the sky had no voice loud enough for humanity to hear. So she became that voice. Even during periods of illness and exhaustion, she kept writing. Friends who visited her often described a woman who remained calm despite enormous pressure. She did not seek fame or victory. What she wanted was much simpler. She hoped future generations would still be able to hear birds singing in springtime and watch the ocean move beneath a sky untouched by pollution. What made Rachel Carson extraordinary was not only her intelligence, but also her restraint. She never wrote as someone trying to conquer nature. Instead, she approached the world with humility. She believed humans were temporary guests inside a far older and more delicate system. That belief gave her writing a rare tenderness that still resonates decades later. In the quiet hours before dawn, Carson often found herself comforted by the smallest sounds. The distant cry of seabirds. Rain tapping softly against a window. The slow movement of tidewater through marsh grass. These sounds reminded her that life continues gently even when the human world feels chaotic and overwhelming. As the years passed, her work changed how millions of people viewed the environment. Yet beyond the political impact and scientific importance, there was something deeply human inside her story. Rachel Carson taught people how to slow down. She showed that peace could still be found in simple acts of observation. Watching light move across water. Listening to wind through trees. Sitting quietly beside the ocean with no purpose except to notice that the world is alive. In many ways, her life became an invitation to rediscover silence. Not an empty silence filled with loneliness, but a healing silence where the mind can finally rest. The kind of silence that exists beside a calm shoreline late at night, when the tide rises slowly beneath the moon and every anxious thought begins to loosen its grip. Tonight, as the fire burns lower and shadows soften around the room, imagine yourself standing beside that endless coastline she loved so deeply. The air is cool. Waves move steadily through the darkness. Somewhere far away, seabirds drift above the water like pale shapes in the night sky. There is nothing you need to solve. Nothing you need to chase. Only the quiet rhythm of the sea continuing exactly as it has for thousands of years. Rachel Carson spent her life protecting that quiet beauty, not through force, but through patience, compassion, and unwavering attention to the fragile world around her. And perhaps that is why her story still feels comforting today. In a restless world that constantly demands noise and speed, she reminds us that peace often lives in the smallest corners of existence. So let the tide carry away the heaviness of the day. Let the distant sound of water calm the noise inside your thoughts. And as the night deepens around you, may you drift gently into sleep, wrapped in the same stillness Rachel Carson once found beside the dark and endless sea.